Confident Parenting Collective audience. As you all probably know, I'm Erica Desper, the founder, and I am on a mission to bring parents and families all the information and resources they may need on this journey of learning differences, disabilities, and delays much sooner than my family was able to get to that information. And I'm super excited today to have Corina Jenkins with me. She is the Director of Outreach for Fusion Schools. I had the privilege to tour the Ardmore campus recently. I was super impressed, and I really just want to make all families who might need this option aware of it. So hi, Corina. Thank you for making time.
Hi, thank you so much, Erica. I just love what you're doing, and I'm with you. It takes, parents helping parents, and it takes a village. As a mom of two, gosh, I can't tell you how much I lean on my village, and it's nice when we're able to share information and find what's best for our kiddos.
Awesome. Well, thank you for now being part of our village. So I have often lamented, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a 13-year-old son. We've kind of been trying to get the right diagnoses, the right supports from school for many, many years, and we're getting very close now. But I often lament to anyone who will listen that traditional school just doesn't seem like it's, the right fit for him. And we've even gone non-traditional, and that still doesn't seem like the right fit for him. And I know that I'm not alone in that, because if you have, someone who learns differently, traditional is probably not going to be right. And I say, like, why isn't there a better way to do this? And it seems like Fusion has a history, a story of something very similar. A mom saying, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So will you tell us a little bit about how Fusion started and then where it stands now?
Erica, when you said, there has to be a better way, that's exactly what I said. I used to work for another school, and a lot of times, like, my hands were tied. I would see a kid that was struggling, and, the school, with all the best intentions, were just like, what else? Like, there is nothing, right? And so it just broke my heart, because, children struggle for a variety of different reasons. It's not just one thing, maybe it's a combination of things. And, that shouldn't just, let them fall through the cracks. It's just like, okay, good luck, And so I was working for the school, and, I was, again, I'm a non-traditional learner myself, and I think it's one of my superpowers. I really think that the world is non-traditional, right? So why, we need to have something that breaks the mold. And so I was just like, there has to be something better out there. And I saw this posting for Fusion Academy, and I was like, and I'll tell you a little bit about where it started, but it's a school from California. I'm from California. I just moved from California. It's like, if this is a real school, like, that would be amazing. Like, can this be real? Like, I just couldn't wrap my brain around what one-to-one would look like, or how that even could work, and how kids can move through it. I had to see it for myself. And so I went to the Princeton campus, because there was no Ardmore, Malvern, or Cherry Hill campuses at that time. And I was blown away. I really was. You could feel the love there. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but, like, the kids were looking at you, and, like, in your eye.
I was just there.
Yeah, right. And you're, like, in the recording studio, and, like, the yoga studio, and the kids are hanging out. Everybody is so different, and you're like, oh, like, this is where kids can go and thrive and not feel judged, but really feel like they can, make their own reality, or their own life, and their own educational journey. So I was like, I'm all in, like, sign me up. I'll clean the bathrooms. What do you need me to do?
I'm just gonna be here.
I know. I was just like, this is what we need in Pennsylvania. We really need this. So when you said, like, there has to be a better way. And so I see that more and more, families are coming around, and people are just like, the traditional school isn't working for my kid, or it's not working for me either. And I want something different. And back in 1989, our founder, Michelle Rose Gilman, who was a special education teacher, and I love her so much. We're friends on Facebook. She's not retired in the Florida team. So back in the day, back in 1989, she was a special education teacher, and she had a program where she was supporting kids one-to-one with her team, and it lost funding. So what do you do in 1989 when you lose funding? You open up your garage because that's where best things are born. So she opened up her garage. It's Solana Beach, California.
Especially in California, right?
Yeah, especially. And
The
she
vibe.
brought her teachers and she brought the kiddos, and there was lots of parking issues and things, and the teachers, what they would do is that they would support the kiddos for that time. And what they were finding was that the kiddos would boomerang back to this program. And so the parents, our parents here, right? The parents said, you need to make this a school. You need to, what you're doing.
Garage is not good enough.
Right. Yeah. And, if you, again, Michelle is, I call her like the Stevie Nicks of education. Like, she's just all about like love and magic and just love the kids, and she makes jewelry now and all that stuff like on guitars. But she just went with her heart of like, okay, like, let me do this. Let me make a school just around focusing a very personalized education for each and every student. Love them, love, motivate, teach. Love them first, motivate them, and then teach them. And went with it. And that was 1989. And here we are now, 81 schools all around the country, all with her purple walls and guitars, and it's all in her vision,
And I have to say,
yeah.
I come at this with my own school. I want to use the word trauma, but really I moved around a lot, and I was always the new girl, and I always had to reorient myself, and I had a lot of gaps because of the moving. And so the content would sometimes be challenging. So when I step into a traditional school, it has like a feel, it even has, I'm like a very sensitive smeller. So it even has like that school smell, and instantly my stomach is like doing these like flips and turns and knots. And I'm like back there as like the new girl that has to find her way. And when I walked into Fusion, I was like, oh, it's not happening. I felt completely comfortable. And yet the purple walls, I mean, you kind of have to see it for yourself. It's just so welcoming and calming and fun. And just again, you can just tell from the moment you step through the door how non-traditional it is and how much care there is with the kids. And the first wall that I saw was the wall of the teachers and the staff that said something like, we remember being where you are. And it was pictures of them when they were school age to remind them, like, remember what that felt like, and be relatable to the kids. And I just thought that would like set such a nice tone for my tour. So anyway, you mentioned personalized, you mentioned one-on-one, how hard it was to wrap your head around that. And that's probably the biggest thing I want parents to understand today, because that's why I had to come see it for myself. I was like, what does that look like? What does it mean? Does it mean they don't socialize? So what does one-to-one learning look like for a typical kid at Fusion?
Right. And thank you for asking that question, because it is the biggest misconception. They're like, one-to-one sounds amazing, great. They have an amazing personalized learning, but when do they get to hang out with their other peers? Like, what about group projects? What about like prom? We have all of that. So the instruction is done one-to-one. So every student has their English teacher, their language arts, English, history, recording, tech, whatever. We have their teacher for instruction, and that is completely personalized. And then after they're done with their class, they go into the homework cafe, and we have two homework cafes. So there's the social homework cafe and the silent homework cafe. And again, instruction, homework cafe, lunch, homework cafe. So we kind of alternate it. And that is really where they get to be a part of clubs and groups and student council and prom. So half their day is social, with the benefit of no homework going home, which is like, I think, yeah. And there's the director of the homework cafe. So they help navigate that. And for any kiddos that, maybe struggle socially, that is something that we can help and support them with. So it's like they can take steps. All right, maybe today I want to just work on my project, or I just want to, or tomorrow I want to be a part of the experiential club and try different foods. And tomorrow maybe I'll do, the Dungeons and Dragons club, or I'll be on the prom committee. And it's really student-led, and it's really supported by our teachers. So there's teachers in the homework cafe. They're not left to their own devices. There's teachers there to help support them. And it's really just a lovely space. I'm sure when you were there, you see some kiddos playing,
Living
video
room.
games.
I mean, there's desks,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, like they're hanging, they're, some are playing guitar, some kids are, having a little debate, some kids are, eating lunch. We have some kids that just want to eat all the time, and that's fine. you know,
that would
some kids,
probably be mine.
yeah, like we have like a morning nappers, but it, what I love about it too is that it allows them to make it feel like it's their own, like they're not forced to do those things. It's not, I'm with you, Erica. I also was the new girl in a lot of places, and that anxiety, those triggers of like, I'm going into the lunchroom, and then now what? And it's like these trauma responses, whereas like you go to Fusion Michelle's vision was like, it cannot look like a school. I felt like it more like a Google campus, or like an, college slash, office, fun office place. But, or like an art school,
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I felt about it. And parents, ask me like, how does this translate to the real world? Like, yeah, this is a beautiful bubble of like love and joy and happiness, right? And you guys, like the kids thrive here, and but when they get to the real world, like it's gonna hit them. And I'm like, think about your office. Is it 500 people that you're, think about what you want for your child. You want them to be advocating for themselves. You want them to not have those trauma responses when they meet new people, to feel comfortable within their own skin. And because of the diversity of our students, because everybody comes to us for different reasons, sometimes they can have a learning difference. Sometimes they struggle socially. Sometimes they just are competitive tennis players, and that's just, they need the customized schedule, or they're singers, or, they're twice exceptional. I mean, there's a variety of different students that come to us. And because of that homework cafe is such an enriching place for kids, because they don't need to fit in a box. And I think that is, for me being a parent, that's what I want for my child, not to feel like they need to fit into a box, but they can have the confidence being in themselves and advocating for themselves and doing the things that bring them joy while learning and succeeding and thriving.
This question we didn't talk about in advance, but I know you can answer it. So it's not like you have a special ed program per se, but you did touch on a lot of the kids do have differences or challenges. So to the parent who's wondering, like, well, would this be the right fit for my child who does need special ed? What would you say to them?
So everything is completely personalized. So you'd meet with the head of school. We'd look over the IEP or the 504 plan, any evaluations, assessments, anything like that. And then we have our own map testing as well. So we do goals throughout, each session and each, quarter or semester for that student specifically. So for a student that has learning differences, yes, we can accommodate, but because we're constantly checking in on these goals, and when I say constantly, every day an email goes back to the parent from each of their teachers, how they're doing socially, emotionally, and academically. Not the end of the semester, not twice a year, how they're doing socially, emotionally, and academically. So we can see, okay, this is what's working. Or, hey, you know what? There was a gap in this learning, and he's actually doesn't. I mean, I can tell you some stories, but we had a student that had a traumatic brain injury and lost a significant amount of information, was in remedial math, and he's in high school and, really struggling, but excelling in everything else. And the school's like, good luck with that. Meanwhile, it was just, he didn't know certain fundamental things. And we got that for him. And then, then he was good. And it was like, oh man.
Well, and if it's so personalized,
yeah.
like the reason we need accommodations and modifications is because the curriculum is not personalized and it isn't one-on-one. So if we flip that around, then there's less need for a formal special ed program because it's personalized to each learner, whether they have a delay or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't hold them back. What we see a lot of times, is that these accommodations, or it's not skill building. right? And it's like, okay, yeah, they can have more time or they can, but again, when we're thinking about how does that translate to the real world, like you don't necessarily get more time on a project that you're working for work, right?
My
So
argument is like that
yeah,
just gives more time to struggle and more attempts to fail, but the end result is the same because nothing has changed from attempt to attempt. So like, what is that going to do for him?
exactly. So we have to see what works, how their brain works, what build on the strengths. And it's really having those eyeballs on the kiddos and celebrating their successes and not making them feel bad for for having differences in their own brain. That it I see it
We
in
all
like,
have, right?
yeah. Oh my goodness. Let me get on my soapbox. I'm like, we're all like diverse. Like,
That's
and we
what's so cool about the
should.
brain.
Yes, and we should be learning differently, and we should all be working differently, because if we all work the same, if we all learn the same, there would be no genius. There would be no change. So working for Fusion Academy, it not only opened up my eyes to alternative education, but just my eyes to children and excitement and thriving and the no shame I felt like I came from in my previous life, right? That it was like, if they don't make this, then good luck to them, kind of thing. And that's not the way that the world works, and I feel so grateful that I can partner with other programs, that we can support other schools. Some kiddos come to us for one class, sometimes it's just tutoring. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 3 years. So we go along to what is best for the family. So I always say, like, give us a call, talk to me, talk to Jess, talk to Chris. And if Fusion's the right fit, then great. If it's not, I promise I'll help connect you with the right fit that it is. And I
You
love
are the
having
most connected person. You're like the mafia version of school director. Every day I get an email from you like, you need to know about this person and they need to know about you, which I super appreciate. But I totally believe you when you say you'll get families to the right place because you literally know everyone who's everyone.
I try.
And I can tell that is what you're out to do. Awesome. Okay, so if I was going to ask like who's your ideal student, the bottom line is there isn't, because it fits in so many people in so many ways. It's really, I guess, for the student who just doesn't fit into any of the other available boxes, because you get to kind of make your own box.
Exactly. And even for the kiddo, for example, we have a kiddo that is coming to us from another school that just wants to take an advanced, math class next year. So they're going to us over the summer. Or they just want to do some recording sessions and, voice lessons in the studio. I just think it's a
I want
nice,
you to come back to that. Can you talk
yeah.
about the non-academic spaces within the school? Because I thought I wasn't expecting that. And that was the thing that impressed me the most, especially looking at it through the filter of like what my son's into. Tell everybody about that.
Learning is more than just like, math and things like that. I don't want to talk down about math. Math is great. Math is great. I love math. Love English. Love it. But that was actually one of Michelle's biggest things, is that she's, a rock star at heart, in a sense. She was big, and, her husband's a guitarist. And she was like, you know what? I know we have a very small school, but we need to have a studio there for kids, to feel like they can have a place, an outlet to express themselves. So we have a recording studio, we have a maker space, a tech lab, we have an art studio, we have, our yoga studio, but kids can do martial arts and dance. And again, all of that's done one-to-one too. There is, of course, we have our jam sessions with kiddos that want to, do vocals, and somebody does drums and all that. And that's all, in the homework cafe and with our clubs and stuff. But I think that is really what is is so enriching and really makes, school, or the learning experience fun and magical, because, that's, you can't lose wonder, right? You can't lose magic. It's not all about tests. It's not, it's about,
That happens
yeah.
really early.
Yeah, it
I
does.
took my son from his play-based preschool to his public school kindergarten, and we did the orientation and he was looking around the room and he was like, "Where are the toys?" And the person that was leading the orientation, that was one of the first things they said from the podium was, "You're not going to find any play kitchens here." And my heart sunk because, I know how much kids learn through play, or whatever play looks like at your age and
Yep.
stage, and kids do lose their wonder really early on, and that, natural curiosity and problem solving and all of that, because it's so assessment based. Um, Awesome. And then you did touch on prom earlier and some opportunities for socializing for kids who are comfortable or taking steps to becoming comfortable. So to the parent who's like, "What about prom? What about what about activities in the community?"
Oh,
What
and
would
graduation and internships and
graduation?
all that fun stuff. Yes. So prom is super cool because it is done with our Ardmore Malvern campus, our Cherry Hill campus, which is right across the bridge from Philly, and our Princeton campus. So we find a place that's somewhat central for everybody, like sometimes Bucks County or something. But they, again, prom is it somewhat looks like a traditional prom, but we have some non-traditional aspects of it as well. We'll have like a video game corner or like a games corner, or it's really what the kids want, because this is theirs. This is about them advocating for themselves, because when they go out into the world, it's things aren't just going to be told to them. They're going to have to make it for themselves. So it's one of the opportunities to do that. And of course, we have internships, post-secondary counselors. So we have kiddos that, again, just as diverse as our kiddos are, the after high school is just as diverse. So we have graduation, which is so beautiful because we are a small, intimate school. Each lead teacher speaks upon each senior that's graduating. So there's never a dry eye in the house. Erica, you'll have to come to one because it is. So I just
I won't make it.
I know. It's so beautiful because each lead teacher talks about each student. And then, so our post-secondary counselors work with our students to talk about what that next step is. Is it college? Is it, gap year? If it is a gap year, what does that look like? How do you budget? All that fun stuff. Internships as well. We have kiddos that have created their own businesses and made their own money while still in school. And I think one of the things too is, I'll have, college consultants, talk to me about like, okay, so what colleges, do students go to and everything. And we have kiddos that go everywhere from the Ivy Leagues to community college. It really just depends on the kid. So it's nice. And again, breaking that mold. And I feel very blessed to be able to say like, it's really dependent on the kiddo and what's best for them.
It almost sounds too good to be true. So that might be what parents are thinking. So parents, if you're watching this and that is what you're thinking, I would say schedule a tour at any of the local campuses. The website is fusionacademy.com. Everyone there is super lovely. You get to pop in on the one-on-one classes and ask the kids what they're working on. And the kids are so welcoming too. It's just an awesome experience. If I could go back in time, I would want to go to Fusion, but my turn is over. Mission to let you parents know about alternatives for your kiddos. So thank you, Corina, so much for your time, and congrats on participating and creating such an awesome alternative for families and kids. And I'm sure we'll have you back again soon.
Thank you so much. And thank you for creating this community, because this is what we need as families, as parents, is just, wonderful, wonderful people like you to share the news. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody.